All right, let's move on towards Talyn Taylor, a wide receiver committed to UGA, so certainly getting the most blue chippiest of blue chip offers, but not necessarily the college fantasy production that we would want to see from a major school like Georgia. We know that, honestly, this shocked me. And before I go into the recruit, I just want to throw this out there. Carson Beck, last year for Georgia, I believe had the second or third highest passing yards in the country. And yet they did not have one single receiver that was really, startable for fantasy other than their tight end, who, tight ends have a much lower threshold. But they spread it around. Carson Beck threw for all these yards, but nobody was like a singular stud in the receiving game. So I found that pretty interesting. But anyway, Talyn Taylor, he is wide receiver 9, composite, 52 overall. He's 6'5.5". He's 173 to 180 pounds, depending on where you look. We don't have a really confirmed weight as of right now. He's from Illinois, which is his high school is 49th ranked in Illinois with a 23 team power rating and a 7 strength of schedule. So competition, as might be expected in Illinois, not incredible, but even for the state, pretty low with a 7 SOS as well. So Georgia commit, he's getting the high-end offers, and we'll roll the clips here. He's a 3-sport guy, played baseball and did some track in addition to football. Unverified 4.47 40. We need some more info on him, and maybe it's the school or he hasn't hit as many camps, but it's interesting we don't have some of the numbers that we would like to have on a guy like this. When I watched him, I liked, honestly, what I did see. Now, the competition is not super fierce, but I found that he seems pretty electric with the ball in his hands. He certainly flashes to me some electric moves. I've seen some spin moves. He had a really nice either kick or punt return on his junior tape that I really liked, showing a lot of ability to kind of be a playmaker with the ball in his hands. And so all that's really good. I love movement skills and the ability to do that. Some interesting other nuggets are his dad was an Iowa running back, Tavian Banks, and a 4th-round NFL draft pick. His mother was a professional softball player. So, he's got some great DNA to be an athlete. He was a top performer at the OT7. He just seems to have a solid frame with a good physique at this stage in his career. And I think he's a pretty interesting prospect. Georgia is not the most fun landing spot, as mentioned at the top of the segment here with Talyn Taylor. But I do think there's going to be a time where some guy just pops out at Georgia and actually can have a very good season. I don't think they'll always do what they've done in the past. We saw that with Alabama in the beginning of their dynasty. They were all defense, and then all of a sudden they became hyper offensive team once they got the right recruits in place. So I'm not giving up on Georgia forever. The other thing with Taylor, and this traditionally is quite an issue with our group, of course, is efficiency. So 14 yards per carry or per catch, I believe, as a sophomore, and then it increased to about 16 last year. You really want to see closer to 20, and this is borne out by data that's actually looked at. Was it on 3? I think it was Charles Power, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the average yards per catch for high-end draft picks was 20, so he's not really quite there. We'd like to see a more efficient senior season from Taylor. I do think there's some building blocks there, and I do think that he flashed some pretty serious athleticism and creativity with the ball in his hands. But there's something going on under those numbers when you're that inefficient. And if you have all this hyper athleticism, you should probably be breaking off bigger plays or something of that nature. So there's a couple question marks. Matt, kick it right to you. What's your impression of Taylor here?
Yeah, I think he's a really well-rounded, ready-to-go player. Kind of similar thoughts to what I said about Bulldog a few weeks ago. I think he's someone who can be a really good wide receiver, too, for a team and get on the field early. Not sure if he's someone that'll ever be a wide receiver 1 at Georgia, unless he's there past 3 years. Maybe 4th, 5th year he can sneak into that role. I do think he does have NFL upside, but again, not a guy's going to be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. He just doesn't have those high-level traits. I mean, he's a very good route runner at this stage already. He's done great in 7v7 tournaments. I just don't know if he has those higher end traits that make him desirable to be a wide receiver one for most programs.
Okay, David, you want to expand on that if you agree? If not, counterpoint. But what are some of the things he's not showing you, or do you really like him? Maybe Matt's off.
I mean, I think sometimes the yards per reception is sort of representative of that, of him not being like a super crazy, explosive, speedy type guy. I mean, he runs in the 4.4s apparently, unverified at this point. If maybe he has a senior year, maybe he's continuing to get more athletic as he gets older here, and he's been blowing up some of these camps. So it could be so that he takes another step athletically as a senior. But yeah, as of now, I'm kind of viewing him as maybe like he has like his ceiling. Like for Keelan Russell, I was thinking like his ceiling would be a first round guy. I think for a guy like Talyn Taylor, maybe like a day 2 pick is his ceiling type thing. So, but I do think I think he knows how to separate. I think he knows how to run routes. I think he has it between the ears for sure. And the genetics are there and everything else. And he kind of feels a little possession-y to me, which I don't know. It's not the most exciting thing for me, but I guess it's more of an archetype I've been gravitating a little more towards. But yeah, I would definitely like to see a little more like dynamic tape, I feel like. But it's definitely a super solid player. I think anytime a guy goes to like a big program like here, I'm always going to be clinching up a little bit to because of the year 1-0 thing. And I just know there's tons of talented guys in that room. So it's just like you have to like just hope that he can get out there and hit some of these thresholds. And that's the part that I always get nervous about. So you have to kind of ask yourself, is he talented enough to get out there and just hit some of those? I don't know. Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like I feel like I maybe saw a few things on tape that made me a little more excited in terms of the dynamism, but overall, sounds like similar guy to Aluk Bode from last week or 2 weeks ago, where good but just not elite level traits that we can hang our hat on.